힘행 우굴왜 빌긴 잔다 고르성 공은 나래였다 여회 후성 야드고랭 호곰바 어흥 힘벌로 지게르흥 소럽사허였다왜 버드사도 마하사도 호토 자라서 나선 덕을 들어버선 샤레 고군 인힘행 우굴왜 샤랭 호공 야트고랭 호공바 어흥이요르 빌겐 잠다 고르성 공나레 야우따레 야우게 구성 겜벌로 타원 덕직 오고몽 찬라라 허성 힘에 밑에 야스타요 누르스 게트겐 허성 게트겐 누르스 허스남 누르세스 얼투일드보스 두르선 허스나스 얼투일드보스 임칠당 인 미트르퀸 호랑 미트퀸 호랑 올트퀸 바 티미트퀸 덕tot 보고도 허섬바다 샤링 후공 있는 누강이 즉 하마가 넘 하마가 용 전다의 도구에 도르괴 오괴 도르괴 오괴 게로괴 게레 삭성 오괴 보로괴 오괴 냄괴 오괴 바다 샤링 후공 디모차라스 허선 잠마라 떨어 도르스 속에 세리크에 오게 호랑에 뜨크에 오게 호랑을 뜨크에 오게 데메 뜨크에 오게 노토게 체코게 하마로게 헬로게 베이 헷글로게 옹고게 도게 오늘은 오게 암토게 Kurtuque ogue omugue wala nutning or ugue settle orang ogue settle metuque oranda chebe ogue wala monka ogue monka gavara takwe ogue tom ogue ogue gogot uttuque ogue Paragatan gitgan chugwe wala tunchdan davdan gogwe erich gogwe atak gogwe mor gogwe tola bilige bide gogwe alach gogwe gigat ul alkhan chugwe wala share gogo bade satvanar inichtan alach gogwe dol bilgen janda kursan bunga mutke şuttan arşı setgele tutkara uge boga astulge badattaga bodga inko sede chan khabaro gazmashet nokchet nirvan itzist furtegi yom orvanda ilta sosa hama borham Shanda kursan gunga ngotuke shotet unkar tosa hansa shugwe bata setigilege tokskongi ger sambala matras belgen jana kursne taran ich ohane taran tense loge taran satsa bossa loga satso taran hamay tavlang maşek emri dola taran Negen hotada vasen dot unengej mitvada takhan inko bilgen jana kursne tarne ugul ve tatyata om gade varasam gade soha shari hugong sadva maha sadva vereng inne mitçelam bilgen jana Kursna satır sorotsa yansıta bile tendesi yalla dogut doksa borhan gonga besalga samadega pasaj bade satva maha satva pota jarasık sangim uguda san sayat goreng ugunan çokum dimede vah yasta tere çokum ceni ugu sılçellen kum bilgen can Kursayata Yavakhyasta Yom Unigabur Tunchildang Erigisete Tagam by Sekhavadan Yajatogusanaks Borhang Im Ho Zardegavasan Nasan Dagildara Shari Gogo Bade Sadwa Maha Sadwa Potak Chara Segava Kamaidova Togul Turtunot Terigutunot Borhanem Aldan Shavnari Chodgan Dayara Bodan Dengaragom Turultung Asor Gandari Zirigi Yurtut Takni Ham Antan Dagam Besalsat Yalchitug Doktusne İkbilgen Jana Ergursne Turkan Togo Savo
Mandala offering.
Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghavya. Here, I'm privileged to announce that the second day of precious teachings of His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama, the root guru, to begin soon at Batsagang Monastery, the center of Mongolian Buddhists. As part of preparative traditions, monks have recited the Heart Sutra and Lamingegeng, the Tenzin Jambul Chogi Shining, made an offering mandala as a request for precious teachings from His Holiness the Dalai Lama, the root guru. Now, I would like to invite His Eminence Humble Lama Abjo Chojan Stembere to deliver his inaugural remark for His Holiness' precious teachings.
Инглавны новидын шагнад энерги нэгүслийн их буусан яараас болтны хувьдгаа дээрхингийн зарилгийн ачил 14-р далай багш таны өлмийн янгад 3 өдний шин бишрлээрээ мөргмөө.
First of all, through my 3 doors, body, speech, and mind, I'm devotionally paying homage to Your Holiness, the 14th Dalai Lama, Adin Sundin Lama, the emanation of Avalokiteshvara, the treasury of great compassion, and the noble peace laureate.
Таны амгадан Монголын боловсролын тугандан төслийн хийдийн шавнар болон Монголын нийт ам хуургууд сүсгтэн одныхоо өмнөөс айлтхан мэндэлцэл бог таалалдаа болгоно.
Please kindly allow me to extend my heartful greetings to Your Holiness on behalf of Nalanda Monastery, the center of Mongolian Buddhists, and as well as the entire monks and devotees of Mongolia.
Монголчууд бид цаст мэрэгдийн чимэг 2 дугаар ялгоо гэсэн хэмээн алдраа дуурсгсан богд Цонkhаповын судар тарныг алшуулдгүй хослуулан ариун шашны хүчээр 3 дугаар далай ламтай нийтийн бус номын барилгыг тогтоосон бөгөөд түүнээс хойш төрөл тусмын далай ламны гуйтай асар ариун тангараар тогтоосон багшавын эрхэм барилгыг уламжлуулан дамжуулсаар эдүгэ цаг дугаа золгосон билээ.
By the grace of the noble sutric and tantric tradition of Tsongkhapa, who was exalted as the crowning glory amongst all the learned masters of the land of snows, and the glorious the second, Mongolians established a unique and sacred dharmic relation with the third Dalai Lama. Later on, this unique relation, based on the purity of vow, continuing with all the lineage holders of the Dalai Lama, has passed down century to century till today.
Зарилгийн ачит багш тавэр 1979 онд анхудаа Монгол орноо өлмийн янга зохиосон. Тэр үеэс эхлэн цагийн эрхээр хураагдсан шашныг маань сэргэн дэлгэрүүл тал дээр таалан үлэмж ихээр хилэн байваа. Тэрхүү хаалттай цаг дор зарилгийн ачит багш таныг гандан тагшлан хийдэд өлмийн янга зохион залархад настай багш дээдэс там хуургууд маань их нэгүсэх чотх чангараас бүрхэн заларлаа. Эдүгээс хойш сайн цаг лавтай ирхэн хэмээн ихэд бэлгшэн хайлан залбирч суусан өдөөж миний санаанд дэлхэн байна.
Since your first visit to Mongolia in 1979, Your Holiness have been graciously and tirelessly concerned the revival and the further spread of the Buddha Dharma, which had been severely curtailed due to the communist regime. Today, I clearly recall that when Your Holiness visited Nalanda Monastery in that close society, our aged teachers and other old monks were truly touched and saying, Avalokiteshvara has arrived. It's an apparent sign of a fortunate time upcoming.
Зарлагын агш ачит багш таны их нэгүүлсэлээр тэр үеэс эхлэн шав бидэнд хотгтын орноо хаалттай нийгмийн үед анхлан явж дээдийн номд суралц асар их хувь тохиосон бөгөөд хожим шашин шүлэх эрх чөлөөгөн үндсэн хуулиар баталгаажуулснаар бидэнд илүү олон шав нарыг илгэн сэра брэвэн жүмэ тэргүүтээ хийж чойрын болон агийн ёсны хийдүүдэд суралцуулах чухал боломж бүрдсэн бол идүүгээ тэдгээрээс анхны аграм таарам авж төрөөд байна. Мөн шашны барьж байсан хотох төвлөгөөд тодон эрхэм үйлсээ хичээнгүлийн шамдаж байгуулгөө. Эдбүг зарлагын ачид багш таны Монгол орноо бурхны шишний цог налин нарын ёсыг сэргэн урдын ажил их дэлгэрүүлэхийн тухайд таалаа үргэлжлэн үйлс зохионгойгоо тойруулж байсны бодит төр болохыг олон хувраг системүүдийн өмнө гүн биширлэр айлтгаж байна.
By the grace of Your Holiness' great compassion, some of us were granted a very rare opportunity to take Buddhist studies in India under your auspice. During that closed society, after the religious freedom was declared by the national constitution, we got more opportunities to send young monks to Sira, Drebung, Gyume, and other major monasteries for advanced Sotric and Tantric studies under your utmost kind auspice. As a result, some Mongolian monks have received the Ngarmba, Dharamsala, Geshe degrees upon the completion of their studies today. Also, incarnate lamas of those who were upholding the Buddha Dharma in the past were unmistakably recognized are studying attentively for proper traditional education on Buddhism. In front of this gathering of monks and devotees, I would like to state that these are all fruitions of Your Holiness's constant, tireless concern for assisting in reviving the Nalanda tradition in Mongolia like before.
Дэлхийн нийтийг хамарсан хижиг таглын улмаас зорин зорчих боломж хязгаарлагдсан энэ үед ч оюутан залуучуудаа бурхны шишин ба шинжлэх ухаан дийт нам хувиргууд сүсгтэн олон зориулан 17 мандагийн солидөв хийгээд мөрийн гурван эрхэм зэрэг эрдэнэ мэт нэн чухал номуудыг зарлагын ачид багшийн их нэгүүлслээр айлдж вэ. Далай багш танаа нийт монголчуудынхаа өмнөөс шав миний бие олцорхны угаас бишрэнгүйгээр талархаж байна.
On behalf of all the Mongolian monks and devotees, I wholeheartedly thank Your Holiness for your precious online teachings, Buddhism and Science for Youths, the praise to 17 Nalanda masters, and Tsongkhapa's 3 principal aspects of the path for monks and devotees of Mongolia. When the international borders are not open for travels due to the pandemic hitting the whole world.
Мөн энэ хүү дээдийн номын айлдварыг улам жил ёсоор сайхан зохион байгуулж буй Монголын бурхны шишний 3 зуулийн нэг хэмээн алдраа дуурсгасан дамын гэгэний 8 дугаар дүрийн хувилгаан данзан жамбал чойжи шинэн ламтны буйнд нэгэн үзүүр цэтгэлээр даган баясж байна.
Here I solemnly rejoice at the sublime virtue by most venerable 8th Laming Gegeng Tenzin Jambul Choge Shineng, one of the 3 highest figures in Buddhism and Mongolia, for smoothly organizing these specific online teachings.
Дайн дэлхийн инх тайвныг цогцлоо хийгээд шашин амтны тусад дээдийн номын хөрдөг үргэлжид эргүүлэн зохиохын тухайд зарлагын агчид багш таны Өлмий Баторчин өнөд удаан залрахыг шав миний бие нийт монголчуудынхаа өмнөөс хичээнгүйлэн дурдан айлтгаж буйг хүлээн авч таадан болгоно уу?
All Mongolians, as a disciple, would like to sincerely request Your Holiness, Kadin Sumden Lama, to live long for the promotion of world peace and turning the Dharma wheel constantly for the benefit of the Buddha Dharma and all the sentient beings. Please kindly bless our most sincere request to be accomplished accordingly.
Ингээд Батан завь ламаарин бүүчи тагийн гарбатаан дэшгэла гадин чимбоогоно жисэндэ хүсэн түгжин ойдуу залдуясоо.
Glorious and precious Root Lama, residing at the crown of my head, through your great kindness, please grant spiritual accomplishment of body, speech, and mind. Now, I'm requesting His Holiness, the 14th Dalai Lama, the Root Guru, to bestow his precious teachings, the praise to 17 Nalanda learned masters, to the monks and devotees of Mongolia.
I pay homage to the Gautama who, moved by his compassion, taught the holy teaching to rid us of all distorted views. So, all of us, we recite the Gadan Hagyam prayer in this degenerate age to make this freedom, the life of freedom and opportunity, a meaningful one. We get rid of the 8 worldly concerns and engage in learning and practice. And so this was said by Master Tsongkhapa in the 100 deities of Tushita. So to be broadly learned, extensively learned, and striving and practice. So, though, however learned you may be, if you use it to gain fame and name and so forth, then that doesn't, the Dharma doesn't turn into a practice of the Dharma as such. And so your practice should not be mixed with the 8 mundane concerns. The Buddha himself didn't have the intention to indulge in the 8 worldly concerns when he started his journey along the path to enlightenment. And then similarly, Master Tsongkhapa, after his birth in his native land in Amdo, and then he traveled to central Tibet and pursued his studies in different monasteries, and also sat for examinations in different monasteries. So he wasn't indulging in 8 mundane concerns, but because it is important to practice what he had learned, he went to Urka and then engaged in purification and accumulation. And then there is a hermitage called Lading, so he meditated there on emptiness. And he had a vision of Nagarjuna, Master Nagarjuna, Bodhisattva Nagarjuna, and surrounded by 5 of his disciples. And so that would be either a dream, or we could call it also a vision, pure vision. And amongst his disciples who were surrounding Master Nagarjuna, Buddha Palita touched Buddha Palita commentary on Rinpoche's Tsongkhapa's head. And so the next morning, when he read the commentary of Buddha Palita commentary, so when he read the commentary on if the self were to be distinct, separately distinct from the aggregates, Master Tsongkhapa had this insight into dependent origination being devoid of independent existence. And so he had this clear realization of emptiness, whereby he got rid of all his doubts about emptiness and all the reification. So if you look at the Master Tsongkhapa's writings, there are on Madhyamaka philosophy. He had written the insight sections of the great treatise of the stages of the path to enlightenment, and then the intermediate stages of the path to enlightenment, and the commentaries on Mula Madhyamaka Karika, Madhyamaka Avatara, and then the distinguishing the definitive and provisional meanings of the sutras. And so if you look at these writings, you will be able to see how well Master Tsongkhapa had understood the Madhyamaka view. And in the Madhyamaka Avataras, chapter 6, the verse number 34 down says that if you assert things to have any independent or self-defined characteristics, then there would be 4 logical absurdities that you would have to face.
So these
4 absurdities that are mentioned, I reflect on them on a daily basis. Which says that the Arya being's direct perception of emptiness would be a destroyer of entities, and so forth. So, of course, there are Panchen Lobsang Yishi's Nyurlam, the swift path, and Panchen Peldenish's Lobsang Chögyal's Delam, the path of bliss, seems to have been written not in accordance with the Kadamba tradition of scholastics, but following the Kadamba tradition of the Pith instructions. And Rinpoche, in his Lamrim, the stages of the paths, mentions that the teaching of the Four Noble Truths was taught by the Buddha as the foundational teaching in all his teachings, whether there are the basic vehicle teachings or the universal vehicle teachings. So he mentions that we should be able to give teaching on the Buddha Dharma within this framework of the Four Noble Truths. So sometimes we are rather carried away by small texts, with the so-called Mengakpa and the Pith instruction teachings of Lamrim or in the Kadam tradition and so forth. So I will go through the praise to the 17 Nalanda masters, rather giving brief, short comments. But I would like to begin from the colophon. So, thus, the foremost sages of the noble land of India, as mentioned above, have composed numerous excellent, meaningful treatises that grant insight to those who think critically about the profound and vast teachings of the fully enlightened supramundane Victor, the Buddha. To this day, even after nearly 2,550 years have passed, those treatises survive intact for us to study, contemplate, and meditate on. Therefore, I am grateful to those masters who were the cream of sages and aspire to follow them in my practice with unflinching faith. And then next, I write, at the present time when the world has made great progress in the fields of science and technology, and we are distracted and preoccupied by the hustle and bustle of our lives, it is extremely important that followers of the Buddha should have faith based on understanding of what he taught. Therefore, in analyzing his teachings closely with an unbiased and so here unbiased, as it is mentioned in the 400 verses by Aryadeva, where he mentions being unbiased and being intelligent and an aspirant of liberation or enlightenment. So when you are unbiased, you will be able to see what is more beneficial or not. And then, though you may be biased, but if you are not able to differentiate between what is right teaching or wrong teachings, and so you need to have intelligence. And even though you may be intelligent, but if you don't have the aspiration to pursue the path, then it doesn't help as well. And so, with an unbiased and so in analyzing his teachings closely with an unbiased, without any prejudice, you should analyze the teachings. And so, with an unbiased and inquisitive mind, seeking the reasons that underlie them, so that you do not accept what the Buddha had said on its face value, and you will check what is the reason behind what he has taught and what is the significance. And of course, there are many reasons that are used in the commentaries for the Buddha's teachings regarding the veracity, and developing faith supported by an understanding of those reasons, these excellent texts concerning the profound and vast. Of course, all religious traditions consider faith important, but regarding the Buddha Dharma, there are those types of disciples who are called the ones with not so sharp intelligence. So they are called the followers based on faith, and then there are those who follow based on reason. And so, developing faith supported by an understanding of those reasons, these excellent texts concerning the profound and the vast, by such renowned masters as the 6 ornaments and 2 supremes, as well as the Buddha Palita, Arya Vimuktisena, and so forth, are indispensable. With this in mind, I commissioned a new Tsongkhapa painting depicting the 17th scholar adepts of Nalanda. I added 9 other masters of the vast and profound lineages to those portrayed in the traditional painting of the 6 ornaments and 2 supremes. Consequently, I was moved to compose an invocation with wholehearted respect to those supreme sages, and some of my aspiring Dharma friends encouraged me, and so this includes Gyabja Tushi Rinpoche, to whom, when I mentioned that I have this wish to write the text, he requested me to do so. Please This is how it came about that I, the Shakya Bhikshu, Tenzin Gyatso, who am in the back row of those studying the works of these sages, have composed this text illuminating the threefold faith. So, having met with many different people from religious traditions as well as scientists and scholars, so of course, whatever they say, I do not accept right away. I always question their explanations. Even Master Nagarjuna and his disciples and followers have questioned the teaching of the Buddha himself, as we see, don't we? So, I added 9 other masters of the vast and profound lineages of those traditional painting of the 6 ornaments and true supremes. Consequently, I was moved to compose this invocation, to compose this text illuminating the threefold faith, an invocation of the 17th grade and the renowned sages of Nalanda, having developed unfeigned conviction in the superb works of these sublime masters. It was completed at Thaksin Chirling, Dharamsala, Kangra district, Himachal Pradesh, India, on the first day of the 11th month of the Iron Snake year in the 17th Tibetan Rabjung cycle, corresponding to 15th December 2001 of the Western calendar, 2,545 years, according to the Theravada system, after the Buddha passed away. May peace prevail. So this also gives the background to the writing, the history or story of the writing this praise. So first, I pray to the praise. I make this praise to the Buddha, the founder of the teaching, as Rinpoche says in his praise to the Buddha for teaching the dependent origination, where he says, so since the verse number 54 of this praise to the Buddha for teaching dependent origination, where he says, since it is due to my teacher's kindness, I have met with this, and so forth. No, the 53 and 53, sorry. And Master Nagarjuna also makes praise to the Buddha from the perspective of teaching dependent origination, such as his salutation verses of Mula Madhyama Kakarika. So, of course, we can praise the Buddha from the point of view of his compassion, and also having become having overcome all his defilements in the mind stream and so forth. But these are not used as the point of consideration for praising the Buddha. In the 400 verses, the Arya Deva says that just as the physical faculty permeates all other faculties within us, likewise this ignorance or confusion permeates all other destructive emotions. And then he goes on to say that this should be overcome through the understanding of dependent origination. So, of course, there are the antidotes to different kinds of destructive, afflictive emotions or mental afflictions, but all of them are rooted in the ignorance, and therefore the teachings are given to as a method to uproot this ignorance. So when you delve into this, how the nature of things, you will be able to see how things exist. And so, here in the praise, Lord of Lords, arisen from the compassionate wish to benefit wandering beings, you have attained sublime protection, abandonment, and realization, and liberate sentient beings through teaching dependent arising. So, by teaching dependent origination, helping sentient beings, by teaching dependent arising, is only the Buddha there, not other teachers. I bow to you, conqueror son amongst teachers. I call to mind esteemed Nagarjuna, who wrote the 6 collections of reasoning. In the first, the Malamadhyamaka Karika, he mentions things do not arise from self, nor other, nor both, not without causes. So there are 27 chapters in this text, Mula Madhyamaka Karika, fundamental wisdom verses of the middle way. So this is an incredible teaching where he mentions that what is dependently originated is said to be empty, and that is designated, and that is the middle way. And there is nothing which is not dependent. Therefore, there is nothing which is not empty. And then he mentions that liberation is, there is liberation by extinguishing the karma and delusions, and karma and delusions arise from conceptions, and they in turn arise through the elaboration of fabrication, and fabrication is done away by emptiness. And of course, he teaches this profound emptiness in many of his writings, and then regarding the extensive path, he deals with it in the Ratnavali, the precious garland. So praise to the Master Nagarjuna is done, and then next is his disciple Aryadeva. If you look, read Master Aryadeva's 400 verses, it mentions that first get rid of the non-meritorious actions, in the middle get rid of the distorted notion of a self, and then finally get rid of all distorted views. And that someone who is able to do that is a wise one. And so he says, just as eliminating or overcoming this ignorance which permeates all other afflictive emotions, afflictive states of mind, you'll be able to overcome all afflictions. And next is Buddha Palita. He wrote the Buddha Palita commentary to Mula Madhyamaka Karika. So he's an inconceivable master. And next is Master Buddha Bhaviveka. I call to mind Acharya Bhaviveka, erudite master who introduced philosophical view that refuted such extremes as truly exist in production, while accepting commonly verified knowledge and external objects. So, with his founding this his sub-school of Madhyamaka, it helped many disciples or followers of the Madhyamaka system of philosophy who were not able to grasp the point that things are merely designated. And therefore, Master Bhaviveka came up with this idea that things do exist objectively, though they lack any true existence. Next, I call to mind Chandrakirti, who promulgated the complete path of Sutra and Tantra, who was skilled in expounding the profound and vast middle way, in which appearance and emptiness eliminate two extremes through dependent arising and the merely conditional nature of things. And so in regard to Tantra, he wrote the Dharamsala, the clear lamp. And in regards to, with regard to Madhyamaka philosophy, he wrote Madhyamaka Avatara and its auto-commentary, as well as Prasanapada, the lucid words. So these are very great writings. So, as I quoted earlier, the verses 34, 35, 36 reject any self-defined characteristic of phenomena. So nothing can be posited from the perspective of things appearing objectively to our perceptions. I call to mind the Bodhisattva Shantideva, skilled in teaching a host of fortunate disciples the truly marvelous path of great compassion through versatile means of reasoning, profound and vast. So his writing, entering the middle way, entering the Bodhisattva path or practices. So in the central part of Tibet, they didn't used to have a tradition or transmission of this text. And so I took special interest and made a special effort to receive transmission of this text. And therefore, I received it from Kuno Lama Rinpoche, Tenzin Gyaltsen, and I, since receiving the teaching, I always keep the text with me and sometimes read it, and particularly the chapter 6. If you look at the chapter 6, you'll see that anger or hatred is made dumbfounded through versatile reasons. And then chapter 8 makes our self-cherishing attitude dumbfounded. If it says that if you are not able to exchange your own joy and happiness with the suffering of others, leave alone reaching Buddhahood, even in the cyclic existence, you'll not have happiness. And then he mentions that whatever joy and happiness there is in the world comes from wishing others to be happy. Whatever suffering there is, it comes from wishing oneself to be happy. What more is there need to say? Look at the difference between the Buddha, who became enlightened because of thinking of others, and look at ourselves, the childish, who think of ourselves alone. So all our misfortunes, all the problems and difficulties, the conflicts and so forth in the world arise because of our self-cherishing attitude, thinking only of me, me, me. And therefore, we have all these problems. And so, Master Shantideva mentions, leave alone reaching Buddhahood, even in samsara, there's no happiness. And then Master Rakshita, who introduced the non-dual middle way of to suit disciples' mental dispositions, was well versed in differentiating the reasoning of the middle way and valid cognition, and disseminated the teaching of the conqueror in the land of snows. At that time, the Tibetan king Tsongkhapa had invited him to Tibet. And of course, there were other monks from the Chinese tradition in Tibet by that time. And so, because the Tsongkhapa wasn't satisfied with the Chinese tradition of Buddhism, who emphasized meditation, of course, and therefore he thought that to bring Buddha Dharma to Tibet from its original land of origin, which is India, And so he invited Master Shantarakshita, who wrote the Tattva Samgraha, which is the compendium of realities, a book on epistemology. So he's disseminated teaching of the conqueror in the land of snows. So in Tibet, we have the tradition of combining logic and middle way philosophy. This is thanks to, having this tradition is thanks to Master Great Abbot Shantarakshita. And then I call to mind esteemed Kamalashila, who thoroughly explained the stages of meditation on the middle view, free from extremes, and the union of calm abiding, special insight according to sutras and tantras. He flawlessly clarified the conqueror's doctrine in the land of snows. So he was a student of Master Great Abbot Shantarakshita, who had advised the Tibetans that there would be a danger of emphasizing on the thoughtlessness meditation in the future, and therefore Kamalashila, at that time, Kamalashila should be invited to clarify the teaching of the Buddha in the land of snows. I call to mind esteemed Asanga, who Maitreya inspired and looked after, who was adept in disseminating all Mahayana discourses and revealed the vast path, and the conqueror prophesied, as the conqueror prophesied, blazed the trail of the mind only. And then next is Master Vasubandhu, who, by maintaining the system of 7 treatises of Abhidharma and the non-duality of mind only. So as I mentioned yesterday, if Master Vasubandhu were here today, living today, I would have to ask him, where is Mount Meru? So it is very clearly mentioned in the Madhyamaka Avatara and its auto commentary that if someone holds a philosophical or a view or a position which is against reason, that should be refuted. And next, number 12, I call to mind esteemed Diknaga, the logician who gave us discerning insight of the fine discrimination by thoroughly opening 100 doors of logic to reveal the system of Buddha's scriptures through empirical reasoning. So he also was a great master who wrote Brahmana Samuchaya, the compendium of logic, epistemology, where his salutation verse says, I salute the one who has become an authoritative, a reliable person, and so forth. And next, I call to mind esteemed Dharmakirti, who fathomed the vital points of Buddhist and non-Buddhist modes of logic, granted of conviction in the vast and profound paths of Sotantika and Chittamatra through reasoning, and was adept in expounding the marvelous ways of the Dharma. Next, Vimuktisena, number 14, and then comes Haribhadra. And next, number 16, Gunaprabha. I call to mind esteemed Gunaprabha, excelling in stability and learning, who integrated the intentions of 100,000 categories of Vinaya, and in accordance with the Mulasavasavada, thoroughly and unmistakably explained individual liberation. Next is Shakyapprabha, and then comes Master Adisha. I call to mind Joe Adisha, kind Lord, who caused the sage's teaching to flourish in the land of snows, who expounded doctrines vast and profound, complete teaching of the conqueror in the context of parts of persons of 3 capacities. And then verse number 19, and then verse number 20. So, of course, Master Nagarjuna was the one who explicated the teachings contained in the Perfection of Wisdom sutras thoroughly. And therefore, here I mentioned through the understanding of the meaning of two truths, the ground reality of how things are, I ascertained by way of the four truths, just how beings arrive in and leave cyclic existence. And so, regarding these four noble truths, Master Nagarjuna, using, if we study his logic, Madhyamaka logic, as I quoted the lines from Master Arya Deva's 400 verses also, so through understanding the meaning of the two truths, the ground reality of how things are, I ascertained by way of four truths just how beings arrive in and leave cyclic existence. Thus, valid cognition engenders a firm faith in three jewels. So when you reflect on these teachings through which are based on reason, through your logic, you'll be able to see that ignorance is a distorted view of the reality of things. And when you are able to overcome this, then there is a possibility for true cessation. So these lines from the Madhyamaka Avatara, chapter 6, the last 3 verses, which ends by saying that you'll be able to travel to the other side, the other shore, with both the wings of conventional understanding of conventional reality and ultimate reality, which are like the 2 wings of a swan. And so we should practice the teaching.
시인의 대니 된시에 denshi kowan judo chishinge tsemen changbe gyupsung taibaden talong zao sobu chingilos.
So this verse so inspire me. So when you talk about taking refuge in the 3 jewels, you should be able to do so within the understanding of the 4 noble truths, based on the understanding of the 2 noble truths, and inspire me to master renunciation, the mind intent on liberation, total pacification of suffering and its causes, and the uncontrite altruistic awakening mind rooted in compassion, the boundless yearning to protect wandering beings. In the verse number 22, inspire me to gain conviction with effortless ease in the profound points of all the paths of perfection, vehicle, and Vajrayana by listening to, contemplating, and meditating on the meaning of the commentaries of these great pioneers. And then verse number 23. So when we think about liberation or attaining this Buddhahood, we usually take this for granted. But verse number 24, verse number 23 says, may I in successive births perfectly obtain a human life endowed with the 3 trainings and serve the doctrine as the great pioneers did, by safeguarding the promoting scriptures and insights through explanation and practice. For that, of course, you need to study those writings of these great masters. And then may all Sangha communities be strengthened by noble, learned practitioners who devote their time in hearing, contemplation, and teaching and practice, and have totally given up wrong livelihood. May this whole wide world be... Oh my gosh. I hear myself. So then the verse number 25 also read. So this is a short explanatory guidance teaching on the 17 scholar adepts of the glorious Nalanda. So as I already read, the colophon So, of course, the world is able to communicate with one another. People from different parts of the world are able to communicate with one another. So, regarding the other religious traditions, they may have difficulty conversing with the scientists because, of course, it's not easy to hold on to that position of saying that everything is done by God. So, because we follow reason and logic, it is not difficult for us to have interaction with scientists. So having met with many different scientists from different disciplines, I have found that the scientists also learn from the teaching of the Buddha regarding dependent arising, how things are dependently arisen. And so, for us to have a good conversation or dialogue with the scientists, we should be able to have the knowledge of the Buddha Dharma by studying these writings of the great Nalanda masters, and also to be able to combat our own negative mental afflictions. These texts are... Oh my gosh.
Now we are moving towards to the question and answer session, and please proceed with your questioning.
I heard him, but now it's gone. Okay.
So now this time we are inviting the director of Asralt Huhtut, or Kind Children Care Center, to say a vote of thanks.
Дэрхингийн 70 багш танд энэ өдрийн амар амгалангийн эрен мэдчлэе. Эрхэм хүндэд тантай уулзаж учрах их хувь тохиолдол тохиолдсонд би болон ачлалт хүүхдүүд төрийн бус уулгын нийт хамт олон талархаж байгаагаа илэрхийлье. Манай хамт олонны хувьд зовж яваа хэн нэгэн тусламжийн гараа сунгаж энэрл хайрлахыг хичээдэг бөгөөд Бурхны сургаалд итгэдэг итгэл үнэмшил маань энэ ажлыг тууштай сэтгэл шулуудан хийхэд нөлөөлөж ирсэн билээ. Манай асрамжийн төвөнд үйл ажиллагааг дэмжиж таны илгээсэн хайр хишгийг бид ихэд талархан баярлаж хүлээж авсан. Энэ хайр хишгийг бид шинээр баригдаж буй асрамжийн төвдөө зарцуулсан бөгөөд илүү олон хүн туслах болно гэж танда хэлжээ. Тэгээд Далай багш танда бид бүхэн баярлаж талархснаа илэрхийлж байна.
First of all, my most heartful greetings to your holiness. It is the rarest opportunity for me and my project team to meet you through this live streaming. We are truly happy. Our NGO aims at helping the destitute with a compassionate approach. Also, being Buddhist encourages us to work with such determination, I think. We were extremely happy to receive your heartily support, which is being used for a new construction being built. This will tremendously help expand our activities more and steadily to benefit many more people now. Please kindly accept our most sincere gratitude, Your Holiness. as it is the
Our
custom of
NGO
position.
is a nursing home and provides residential care to the elderly and people living with disabilities with the motto, be compassionate, share it with others, no matter how small. Happiness never decreases by being shared. It is a care and protection center founded by an ordinary family that provides care and support to the most vulnerable, older and disabled people who have no home and no one to look after them. Today, more than 50 people live and receive care at the home. They see and trust us like parents, siblings, or children, and they live there in peace without the fear of tomorrow. Today, there are 35 orphanages for children and 12 nursing homes for seniors in Mongolia, but there are no residential care centers for people living with disabilities. Our ultimate goal is to create a residence with its own independent facilities that can provide a high level of long-term personal or nursing care. We have been working tirelessly to achieve this goal since 2015. In 2019, we had the rare opportunity to host a visit from Venerable Monk Lamingigeng to introduce our operations. Then, Lamingigeng informed the Dalai Lama of what we were striving for. We had a great opportunity to connect with people around the world. The Dalai Lama extended a helping hand and donated $50,000, with which we laid the foundation for a new facility for our care center. Thank you to the Dalai Lama, the highest-ranking spiritual leader of Buddhism, for entrusting us the Gaten Phodrank Foundation of the Dalai Lama, and to the staff of Lamingigeng Mongol Sunchoi NGO in Mongolia.
말하는 미지 인신절이야.
As human beings, we depend on a community or a society. We were born alone, but we cannot live alone. We were born from our mother, and there must also be other relatives and near and dear ones around us when we were born. And then today in the world, we are connected with the whole world, and therefore being compassionate and being kind to others is something that we should do, because we are dependent on others in the society or communities we live in and in this world. As in the Lama Chepa, Guru Puja says, self-cherishing attitude is the source of all misfortunes, whereas cherishing all mother sentient beings is the source of all good. And so we do not need to talk about north and south or east and west and so forth. All of us are interconnected today. And therefore, we are, from the point of view of the climate change and economy and so forth, we are all connected. And therefore, we must look after others for our own benefit. And especially, we should look after those who are needy, sick, destitute, So there are many, of course, many different organizations which cater to the needs of such people, but we must do our best so that we can reduce the gap between rich and poor and bring happiness, well-being to the entire humanity. Not talking about nirvana or life after death and so forth, but taking care of their needs regarding the necessities of life, food, clothing, shelter, and so forth. And therefore, we should do our best to look after and take care of those people who need the most help, and especially the elderly and infirm. Though they do not want happiness, they don't want suffering and want happiness. Because of their age, they are not able to be self-sufficient, and therefore the old people's home and institutions taking care of these elderly people are very important to look after these needy people. No. Question number 1.
So, first question is by Tsok, who is from Ulaanbaatar.
Самбано дэрхэнгээд далаа багштай банд төшүүлье. Далаа багш минь нэлбэ.
Greetings to Your Holiness. How do we get rid of anger and selfishness quickly, especially when I can't stand anger? For that, those who have belief in religion,
Who's from Ulaanbaatar.
When we face problems and difficulties, people, of course, keep their faith in God or others. Those who do and then pray to God and so forth, whereas those non-believers will not do this. So Mongolians and also here in India, we have different religious traditions, and Christians have their own place of worship or God. So during our difficult times, this practice of praying to the God and so forth has been there for thousands of years. So for both the people who are believers or non-believers, for example, for us, regarding us Buddhists, we can make offerings to the images of the Buddhas and also seek advice and also ask for divination from masters and so forth. Of course, these may look from the perspective of logic or epistemology, they may seem to be blind faith. And then especially those who have no faith in religion, I mean, our divination and the methods of investigation into the things, these methods, so the Buddha and also the Dharma protectors, so we use these divinations and so forth
在个所谓解剖所谓就是这了呗，某种大学学，那尝试不开始的几个月着，嘛到先，这个当时这个南北区个入党先个是不一样，过了这个某种大学，这个学识的，伢了菜都不行不，是吧？那么些呢，那么名。
So of course the divinations and so forth are, this is question number 2 actually, are based on the teachings of the Buddha, and then we should also have a qualified person who can do divination for us. So not everyone who has the name or title of a Lama or a teacher, a master, can do that. So otherwise it would be a blind faith. As our knowledge increases, we should knowledge about the Buddha and so forth, the Buddha's teaching and so forth. Then we should first check the person from whom we ask for divination. Otherwise, it would be too we would be too lax in following the teaching without doing an investigation. And so we do, when we are pursuing something, we would also give thoughts to them, reflect on them, and check what's the pros and cons. So otherwise, without doing any investigation, just asking for divinations and so forth would be taking things for rather granted. So of course when people are desperate, they say, "Oh my God," and they call on their God. But in general, the people in the West do not just follow on blind faith. They use their human intelligence and reflect on, do investigation, analysis into the nature of things. And then they put effort in order to achieve their goal. So after having done your own study and so forth of the Buddha Dharma, you may ask for divination from others. Just doing it on the basis of blind faith is outdated.
Any, down the Joe window. Tagada Joe de the Nikan Shujus, Ranjun Kamda, Tindu Tree Pension, Niminto, Labor, Goju Cheve, Toblam Yedam, Misu Ranjun Kamda, Juzu, Kanda Sugar.
So this question is about how to take care of our nature. While engaging in mining. So of course this mining for natural resources has been there since old ancient times. So this is, for example, when you go to mine for some minerals or other resources, these resources are something that belongs to the whole people and nation. And then, of course, if you do this mining or deforestation excessively, then there would be imbalance in the nature. So this is happening these days. Because of using coal, there is damage, it damages the environment. And today, people are using solar energy and producing electricity, and also wind energy, using windmills, and producing energy and electricity. So if we could use these modern technologies without damaging the environment and nature, it would be good. So to the best of our ability, we should avoid damaging the environment. So when the population of the world was small, of course, it may not have much effect. But today, because of the increase in population of the world, we may cause, if we do things excessively, then it may cause harm to the natural environment.
I
try to do something useful for others, but sometimes my help fails and makes others angry. What can I do at such a time? So human nature, we have different personalities and characters, and also mental dispositions. So because of seeing the different mental dispositions of his followers and disciples, the Buddha gave different teachings in accordance with the Vinaya, the monastic code of discipline, and then the Sutra teachings, for example, the Panchaparamita, the perfection of wisdom teachings, and so forth. So in accordance with the mental dispositions of the disciples, he gave these different teachings. Different teachings. So though you may be trying to help others sincerely and out of their dedication for their well-being, if people show anger, if people become angry with you, you should also try to see whether you need to stay without doing much. As the 8 verses of mind training says, whenever I associate with others, may I look upon myself as the lowest, and so forth. And so you should not be stubborn with your own ideas, but do what is needed
Now the
to
next
help
question
others.
is by Group Tauk from Bayonghongor province.
За дэрхигийн таны амрыг алтгая. Асуулт нэгүүлсэнгүй сэтгэл шудраг үнэн амьдралынхаа үрдлэг болгосон хүмүүс хохирч
What principles of life one should follow in these times when those who believe in compassion, truth, and fairness seem to always become victims? Whereas those who are malicious in their thoughts, deeds, those who are unfair to others, those who abuse others, and those who value money seem to always win and gain in life. So you use the term, it seems that this is happening. So of course this is not reality. In reality, those who abuse power, authority, are not happy because of their ill will or bad intention in their heart. They always are unhappy. And so those people who are also being clever, and people will always talk behind them that this person is unjust or hypocritic. Whereas if you are honest and sincere in what you do, people will find this eventually, and then they will listen and they will believe you. Whereas if you were to become someone whom others suspect, always doubt about your intention and so forth, you will be on the losing end, at the losing end. Next.
So
Mongolians, you are followers of the Buddha Dharma. You are living in a Buddhist country. So, as Buddhists, there were many great Mongolian scholars in the past who studied the great texts and treatises of Buddha Dharma. So who followed the triple process of hearing, listening, or study, reflection, and meditation. And there have been many people who were learned as well as humble and kind. So you have such examples from the past. So when we talk about religion, we should think of it as a subject for our study, and also something which we can use. We can go together with science. As I said yesterday also, otherwise just believing in the Mount Meru, the four continents and so forth, as we do so when we make mandala offerings, if you just believe the teaching only on the basis of faith, then you may not be able to go on par with others in society today, in the scientific society today. So even scientists do acknowledge the teaching of the Buddha, which is based on logic and reason. So in the past, there were nobody who understood the Buddhist the psychology that is found in Buddhism. And then today, the scientists, and particularly the neuroscientists and so forth, who have studied Buddhism, some of them even are able to accept the teachings of the Buddha And we should also follow the teaching with understanding, through understanding the teaching by using logic and reason. So Buddhism is something that we can explain through reason and logic, and also you can see how it benefits oneself in transforming oneself when you put them into practice as well. So this will become clear to you, Mongolians, as well. And so you should have faith, which is combined or with or supported by wisdom and understanding of the teaching. So religion is something that is an individual matter. Nobody can force it on others. But when you are in a bad situation, to keep your self composed and calm and retain your peace of mind, religion is helpful, and particularly the teaching of the Buddha. Today we are in the 21st century. In the next 2 centuries, also in the next 2 centuries, the global warming will be greater, perhaps. In our text, there is mention of destruction of the world by fire and destruction of the world by wind, storms. So maybe the global warming today is an indication of such things coming in the future. Some scientists even say that in the next few decades, because of global warming, we will not be able to survive in the world. Of course, the glaciers are melting today, as we see these days. And then because of the global warming, there is shortage of water, scarcity of water as well, which we see today. And so there will be, I think there will be the great change, climate change in the future as well.
추루도 만져வே 여러 조상고 다 지금 근조도 아니 교원의식사로 된 돈의 생활이 최든 제대로 봐.
So what is ethics beyond religion? So we believing in past and future lives or God and so forth have to do with religion. Whereas if we think along the line of reasoning where we think of all humanity, that we have to survive and to be, because we need to survive together, and economy is something which doesn't distinguish between this people or that people. So we all are related in that. Just as you need to live and survive, likewise others also need to live and survive. And therefore, we should not cause harm to others. So when we talk about set ethics, we are not talking about past and future lives or liberation, nirvana, and so forth, but we are thinking of living a life as human beings in this world. So I always say that it's individual matter. It depends on the individuals whether they want to follow a religion or not. But as human beings, because we live together, we need to survive based on love and compassion. As I already quoted Shantideva's Bodhicharyavatara, if you do not exchange your joy and happiness with the suffering of others, leave alone Buddhahood, reaching Buddhahood, even in cycle of existence, you will not have happiness. So even when you are living in a community or a neighborhood, if there is a huge difference or gap between the rich and the poor, then there would be theft and so forth happening. And so we should do our best to make everyone living in our communities more or less of the same wealth, so that there's not much gap between the rich and the poor. Is that all? Next question.
Now, this is the question and answer session is over. And I would like to thank Your Holiness very much for your precious teachings and profound explanations. Here, I'm announcing that the end of today's session, right now, may your lotus feet be firm in 1,000 eons. May Your Holiness live long to benefit the Buddha Dharma and the sentient beings. Thank you very much.
So
tomorrow we'll have teaching on the three principal aspects of the path. So see you tomorrow.